So, let me get this straight, Zordon. You only want me to wear blue clothes from now on? Like, just blue shirts and blue pants and blue socks? That kind of thing?
Yeah, I was thinking it would be really cool if everybody was color coordinated with their Power Rangers, because it's their secret identities.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. If it's a secret identity, why am I wearing just that one color? That seems a little on the nose, doesn't it?
Look, if you're worried about the cost, don't worry about it. Alpha will give you a credit card. You can head down to Gap or Old Navy and get yourself something really nice.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. I don't even really like the color blue. My favorite color is green.
Damn it. I'm sick of this. Why does everybody always want to be the Green Ranger?
He has a dragon. I'm riding around a stupid Triceratops. What do you think?
Ugh. I'm gonna talk to Alpha about getting you kids.
Welcome to another episode of Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me as always is my lovely co-host, Tim, the Black Ranger Morrison. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Paul. How are you doing?
I am pumped up, Tim. Really pumped up because today you and I are talking about 1995's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie from 20th Century Fox.
I remember going to the theater to see this movie.
Yeah, like this was a good pick, man. Honestly, this brought back so much nostalgia. I remember all the toys from all of this, the TV shows, the movies, going to see this, watching this, staying up late and playing this on the Nintendo. Like, this is amazing.
I remember getting this on VHS for Christmas one year, and I know I probably wore that VHS out. I love that movie. This was a really easy sit through like this time. It was a breeze to watch this.
So I know this is Good Times with Bad Movies, obviously. This is, while this is a fun movie to watch, it is ridiculous. So I think we at least need to acknowledge that right up front here.
Oh, it looked a lot better when I was 10.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, the CGI, this has not aged that well. But, you know,
No.
they tried. They tried. That's okay. Real quick, too, before we get in, who is your favorite Ranger? If like when you watch the OG Power Rangers, because I didn't really pay attention much past when it was just the first couple incarnations of Rangers.
I've only ever really watched the first few incarnations. Like after this movie, I don't believe I watched much more of it. But my favorite Power Ranger probably would have been Tommy, when he was a Green Ranger.
That was a pretty good Ranger. Yeah, he was sick. When he was that dragon, yeah, that was awesome. And then he was a white tiger. That was wicked too.
Yeah, he had his own Godzilla Zord.
Man, that was kick-ass, right? Yeah, they just hit you with that like halfway through the season. This dude comes out of nowhere with this little flute sword thing and comes out with Godzilla's out. Like, holy crap, this is amazing. That was going. I think my favorite was I forget his name. The Black Ranger in the first season.
Zach?
Yeah, Zach. Yeah. He had the Mastodon, that guy, yeah. He had the two axes. They were so cool. And the Mastodon was just this giant behemoth. It was a cool animal. It was a cool concept. I was like, no one's doing this. This is wicked.
Yeah, he wasn't in this movie.
No. You know what? So I looked into this too. I don't know if you did, but something happened. Apparently there's a whole backstory to a lot of things going on in the world of Power Rangers that maybe we can get into later if we got time. But it sounds like there was apparently some contract issues, allegedly, somewhere in between the first season, and they just axed a bunch of them. And they just said, see you later, you're done. And they brought in some new people, and then they made a Power Rangers movie.
Oh, I would have guessed at another obvious potential problem.
What's that?
I figured they were pressured to change the black guy being the Black Power Ranger and the Asian one being the Yellow Ranger. Because oddly enough, those are the only two that didn't make it into this movie.
You think they were a little too on the nose there?
Is there nothing to that? No?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I might just be reading into it. I just thought yeah.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe they're like the white guy's the White Ranger. The white girl's the Pink Ranger. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's all typecasted. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how that works.
Oh, okay. I thought that. Yeah, no, that's where I thought you were going with that.
No. I think there was just an issue as far as money. They wanted to be paid because it sounds like there is some stories that we can definitely get into later. But allegedly, some of these people were only getting paid $600 an episode to do this, and stunts too. So maybe we'll give you a quick synopsis in case you haven't seen the original Power Rangers movie. It's about a giant egg that's unearthed at a construction site and soon open, releasing the terrible Ivanus, and it's up to the Power Rangers to save the day.
That's pretty much it. It doesn't really explain what the Power Rangers are.
Well, I mean, at this point, if you're watching the movie, you've already been in for the episodes, right? Because this is a bridge, I believe, between like I think season 2 and 3. So they've done a whole bunch that leads up to this, right? So you would have to watch all their stuff to at least get this context of what this is. But these were Power Rangers, and this is 1995. Power Rangers is one of the biggest things out there, man.
This was a big deal.
This was a huge thing. I remember too when I was young, a bunch of kids got messed up. They were on like the playground and stuff. We'd be playing Power Rangers and people got hurt. You know, like you try to like ninja kick someone and you fly into a monkey bar and hurt yourself. And like kids were getting black eyes and bruises, and so they said that's it. It's banned at school. You can't play Power Rangers anymore. So, and that's how big it was, at least in my school, my world.
Yeah, no, I had like all the action figures and some of the swords and their guns.
They were so cool, man. Honestly, like the action figures, because you get all of them, and then you can make the big Zord out of it. And then, like if you knew somebody who was like they were lucky and they got all the Zords that their parents just spoiled them. Holy crap, man! You go over that guy's house all the time and just play with them and you set up the guns and stuff. Like, it's amazing.
All the different kinds of bad guys.
Yeah. Well, the putties are nothing, but
I think every episode had a new villain.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about that too, right? It's just like some episodes you get like some giant fruit monster thing, and some episodes it'd be like a pig, or I don't even. There was like a wizard guy.
A lot of food oriented things, like giant cheeseburgers, or like pirates, or giant fish, or salads.
Pirates not a food related thing, but yeah, no.
No, sorry, pirates not. I don't know. I guess I was just thinking of like random things. I don't know why I threw pirate in there. But yeah, it's like kind of like every kind of gimmick you can think of.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I mean, the movie is kind of like that too, I guess. But maybe we should just get into this anyways, because we're rambling here a little bit.
It's Morphin Time. So in case you don't know anything about the Power Rangers, this movie starts out the exact same way as Star Wars, with a story text crawl, and fills you in on everything you need to know.
Long and short of the text is that there's a guy named Zordon who comes down. He's got a robot assistant named Alpha, and they're trying to stop the forces of evil. And they have to recruit 6 teenagers or 6 people to help stop the forces of evil. And then you get the big title, and it's Power Rangers. And we're off to the races here in this movie.
And it says that this, as per tradition, their identities are kept very secret.
Yeah.
So then we start out with the in the back of a plane, and all of the Power Rangers are there. There's 6 of them crammed in here, along with the 2 goofballs from school, I guess, Bulk and Skull.
That's weird. They're bullies, right? Bulk and Skull. I don't know why they brought them along to go skydiving with them, because these guys are always jerks, and they just give them a hard time, and they harass them and put garbage on them and stuff like that at school. So why are they invited to go skydiving?
I have no idea. I don't know why you'd bring these guys along. They always harp on you.
Right? Unless their plan was just to get really dark, and they're like, we're going to give them a parachute full of forks and knives, just Bugs Bunny style, and let them hit the ground.
Yeah, and Bulk and Skull have no idea that these 6 people are the Power Rangers.
Yeah, and that's weird too. You got to think, first of all, there's exactly the same amount of them as there is of Power Rangers, and they all wear the same colors. I was just thinking, wearing the same colors, that's a big commitment. Like, you just have to have all blue shirts, all green shirts, and you just wear that every day. What like when they be like, hey man, like the one guy's like, hey, can I wear red today? And the guy's like, are you serious, bro? I'm the red guy. And then maybe they had a big fight about it. I don't know. I don't really know how that all works. But I just think that's a lot, right? They're like, when you're this Power Ranger, you don't have to go home, throw out all your t-shirts, throw out all your sweaters, throw out your jackets. Just buy this one color, please. Do you think the Zordon and Alpha give them like a little like Amex card or something? They're just like, go to the store. It's on us. Just go to the Gap or whatever and pick up a couple of shirts. But it's weird because Bulk and Skull. So these guys are 2 high school idiots, right? They're just idiots. That's all they are. They're bullies and idiots. And they're fairly useless. Again, I don't know why they're hanging out with the Power Rangers. I don't know who invited who in this situation. It just seems weird that they're all together. But I think they just need them. They need an excuse for them to be in the movie so that they can show them later on. But these guys are also dangerously unqualified to jump out of a plane, it seems like. They have no idea what the heck they're doing. Why are these guys jumping by themselves? Because they almost jump out the plane without their parachutes at the start of this movie here.
Yeah, they almost committed suicide.
Yes, right? Like, holy crap, that's how we're going to start this movie here.
Yeah. Luckily, Kimberly saves them, and she tells them, like, hey, guys, you might want to put those on. And then as soon as they put them on, this awesome song starts playing. It's Red Hot Chili Peppers' cover of the Stevie Wonder song, Higher Ground.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song.
This movie actually has quite a few really good songs on it.
Some of them are good. There's a song later on that we hear that always annoys me. But
oh yeah, there's a couple dumb ones.
oh yeah, there's a bunch of those. But yeah, there you go. They just jump out of the plane. They say, "See you later, boys. We're out," and they launch themselves out of this plane, leaving these two inexperienced jumpers who are really nervous and almost jumped out without their parachutes on. They're not even on right now at this point. They're just leaving them by themselves. See you guys later. Figure it out. Peace.
Did you notice that none of these people skydiving are actually any of the actors?
Oh yeah, it's just painfully obvious. You're like, you're not Tommy. You're not Billy.
The few moments that it actually shows them on their face, it's like so obvious that they're just in front of a blue screen with some wind blowing.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious, right? I know I thought was funny too. It's like, why does Tommy have a snowboard?
Okay, I was gonna say, because he always has to be like the coolest. That's why everyone always picks like the white or green Power Ranger as their favorite. Maybe the red sometimes, but most people always pick him.
Yeah, I think so. Because when I was a kid, man, this scene pumped me up. I was like, this is so cool. This guy's jumping out of a plane with a snowboard strapped onto his feet. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. But you got to imagine, do you think the other Rangers were pissed off? They're like, okay, so we're not bringing snowboards, right? And they're like, no. And then he shows up the next day and he's like, hey guys, what's up? And they're like, dude, are you serious? You brought the snowboard? He's like, well, I thought maybe you guys would bring yours too. You know, I just thought, well, it's here now. I might as well just go. And maybe it was this guy just always has to one up them. You know, they're like, this guy's he's a friend, but he's a dick.
It has to be Zordon's favorite. So
while the Power Rangers are free falling out of the sky here, on the ground here, it looks like they're having some sort of, I think it's like a charity for it's a jump-a-thon. Is that something like that? It's like a charity event.
It's for Ryan's Comet. It's a celebration because this comet is going by the Earth.
That's right. They mentioned this once at the start here on purpose. This is a big setup. That's right. So it's a celebration for Ryan's Comet. Okay. So there's a kid down on the ground and he's watching the Power Rangers. And this kid is like, he loves the Power Rangers, obviously. He's us in this movie right now. We're living vicariously through this kid. His name is Fred. So he's got a dad here. I don't know if you noticed this about his dad, but when his dad spoke, they didn't let him say a lot, or he would be very monosyllabic responses. It'd be like, yes, no, okay, bye. Because this guy has the worst fake American accent I've ever heard in my life. This man is Australian.
Oh, that makes sense. I thought he had like a New York accent or like a really thick Boston accent.
When you hear it for half a second, yeah, you're like, oh, okay, right on. But I heard this guy's voice and because I'm like, just like zoned in on stuff, trying to watch this critically for some reason because I'm an idiot. And I'm like, that guy sounds weird. So I went back and I'm like, he sounds Australian. He's like, all right, Fred, you happy, mate? Like, we didn't say mate, but he sounded like that. I'm like, this guy sounds like he's Australian doing an American accent. I looked him up on IMDb. Yeah, like most of the extras in this movie are Australian people because they filmed this movie in Australia. So they just got a bunch of these guys to show up here and just say lines and try to do American accents. That's what I'm guessing is what happened here. And they're just like, okay, these guys don't sound that believable. Let's just give them less to say. Because this guy you'll see in this movie, this man will just say, okay, bye. Yep. And that's it.
So the only thing you really need to know about that is that Fred really adores Tommy because Tommy is his martial arts teacher. And now it's time for the Power Rangers to go roller skating. When I was young, this is probably one of the only reasons I wanted to have rollerblades. And these guys, when they're rollerblading, so another really cool song plays, Free Ride by the Edgar Winter Group. And these guys are just like, whenever you see their faces, they're just like regular rollerblading, like swaying from side to side. But then when you don't see their faces, they're doing like flips and twirls through the air. Like off of sets of staircases and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. They can it's like in the Mighty Ducks. They got these people that can barely rollerblade on one side. And then when you see them and they cut to it, you can see sometimes that it's clearly people that are not them just like doing crazy backwards wheelies downstairs and doing 360s and stuff and just ripping it.
This is a thing that happens so much in the movie. I don't know why I didn't notice this as much when I was younger, but like when I watched this earlier today, every single time they jump or do a flip, they go, ha, yeah, styling, awesome. Hoo.
You know what? I bet it was it sounds like they're trying to make this like Ninja Turtles, you know. This is supposed to be this cool franchise where they just shout out random slogans. Cowabunga! Excellent! Yeah! Hiya! And it's this like it's as a kid, you're like, I love this. As an adult, you're like, yeah, like this is a little stupid.
So while they're roller skating, they go by this construction zone.
Yeah, totally just get to skate into a construction zone with live traffic, you know, machines going on, people walking around. There's no barricades, there's no gates. There's not even anything on the ground's actually really well kept too, I gotta say, for this construction site. And they just get to skate through this construction site with no one cares.
Nope.
Okay, but yeah. So they do that. But while they do that, Bulk and Skull come down out of the rafters here in their little parachutes. And I just gotta say, I forgot to mention this. I think it's Bulk. He is, maybe I'll be nice and I'll say he's the portly gentleman in this movie. He, dude, when in his little, he's got this little spandex suit on. It looks like he is Danny DeVito in Batman.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
He's Oswald Cobblepot. Like, he's just coming out of the sky with a little beanie on his head.
He kind of reminds me of Meatloaf from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm just ready for him to start singing Hot Patootie. I guess in a different area of this giant construction zone, the construction workers have been digging up the foundation, I guess, or just ground to make a new building. I don't really know. We don't really know what this construction is all about. Anyways, they find this giant sewer cover with a face on it. Looks like it's kind of carved in. And they're like, well, we got to lift it out. So they hook up a crane, some straps to a crane, and lift up this cover. And as they lift it up, smoke comes barreling out of it. Smoke or steam, I don't know what it is.
Dry ice? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, this giant egg, this giant purple, like life-size giant egg. It's being held by what appears to be the hand of a Ninja Turtle. And yeah, everyone's curious. And this one guy walks over and he like pokes it and he gets electrocuted.
Yeah, this guy gets purple. I don't know what this is. He gets purple shocked by something, I guess, knocked on the ground, and he's out cold. Meanwhile, the Power Rangers just scooting along on their rollerblades. It's funny. They stop there, and Tommy does this one push, and just he can barely skate, and they're doing 360s a second ago. It makes no sense. And Tommy's got long hair, and the stunt double clearly did not have long hair. They didn't even put a wig on the guy.
That's funny. I didn't even notice that now until you mentioned it. He totally can't skate. You can tell that he just learned how to do this in the past like week or two.
He's basically a couple steps away from getting dragged along on a string. That's about it. But they get little beeped on their phone, beep 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 from Zordon and Alpha, and they're told to come over to the command center ASAP. So they find somewhere safe to go, and then they pull out their watches and give it a little beep beep, and they zap over to the command center. And this was another question I had too. Watching the show again. Where is this command center? I know it's in Angel Grove or somewhere around Angel Grove, California, but this place looks like an observatory or some sort of like, it looks like Castle Grayskull or something. I don't know what the heck this is. And also, people would notice this thing in the middle of wherever the heck you are in California. You would notice this.
I don't know if this is even supposed to be on Earth because like they're being transported there kind of like the same way, but that you would be on like Star Trek. Only theirs look like a rainbow when they go.
At the start of the movie, they in the text they say that he came down. Zordon comes down to Earth and he sets up this command center, which is weird too because I even looked on the little Wikipedia and the fan Wikipedia thing, and there's a bunch of lore on Zordon. Apparently, some of the stuff doesn't make any sense to me. Somehow he showed up to Earth, got banished from somewhere, and he got banished into this like power tube, which is what he talks to the Rangers in, right? But he somehow built the command center. So how is he in this tube? And how can he only talk to people but he built this command center, which clearly is like has electrical and metal plates on the walls, and it's like concrete. Like this is a sophisticated place that they're in. How is Zordon walking around doing all this stuff, but he's trapped inside this tube? I understand Alpha's around, but Alpha's only one guy. And Alpha, too, through the show is like clumsy because there's times where he's like walking around and he'll spill water because he just has water for some stupid reason. He's a robot. And he's like, yeah, Zordon, oh no. Ah. And then he has to like try to fix something. So I don't see this goofy robot with these 2-finger hands building all of this stuff.
The majority of it doesn't make sense. I have no idea. And I've always wondered, like, who were the Power Rangers before these 6? Because apparently he's been doing this for like thousands of years. He didn't just come to Earth. He didn't just come to Earth like 4 years ago, according to the opening.
This is my point. Zordon seems kind of reckless. I really think so. So you need someone to save the Earth. I understand that. Okay. Why are you recruiting teenagers? Why are you not getting adults? People that at least know what they're getting into, and maybe they're probably actually more physically fit. You know what I mean? Why are you cruising high schools for apparently 6 teenagers? You're gonna dress up in costumes and go out and fight giant hamburgers from space? What the heck is wrong with you?
And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not up to date on the Power Rangers lore. Like I'm a little rusty there. I don't think Tommy is actually a regular human that went to school at Angel Grove, right? He was created by Lord Zed or whatever, the other bad guy, and as the Green Ranger. But then the Power Rangers turned him good, and Zordon was like, "Tommy, you can come with us."
Yeah, that sounds right. It sounds right. I think it's been a minute. I didn't go back and check the show. I should have, but I think that sounds right. That brings me to another point too. Zordon, what he looks and sounds like. So what he looks like, I think, anyways, he looks like Mrs. Doubtfire when Robin Williams put that pie on his face and he was trying to hide that it was him. That's him. Hello. That's who he looks like.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's like he kind of looks like a white potato, like he's just a face with like a very little definition to his facial features.
He's a creepy looking dude. Could you imagine if some guy zapped you out of nowhere? You're going to biology class in high school. This robot and this weird Mr. Clean looking thing show up and zap you into a building. They're like, "Rangers, I need you here to help us save the day." Like he sounds like an underwater Muppet. That's kind of what Zordon sounds like.
He certainly got an upgrade in the newest Power Rangers movie that came out in 2017. Bryan Cranston played Zordon.
Yeah, that was about the only good thing in that movie, honestly. That's a tough watch, unfortunately. So Zordon explains to the Rangers that there's this guy, Ivan Ooze, and he's been unearthed. Yeah. The egg that we're about to find out is actually a prison for Ivan Ooze is a hyperlock chamber. What the heck does that even mean?
I don't know. It's just one of the random pieces of jargon that they throw out in this movie. Like he's just been trapped in prison there for thousands of years.
Well, hyper, it's like big, right? Like it's like a lot. So maybe it's like extra lock. It's like a super lock you put on this guy. You put him in it. Put this little egg guy in an egg. That was like, he's like, "This Rangers, don't worry, I saved him. I put him in an egg and then put a hand over him." You're like, "Thanks, Zordon. That was really responsible." And he's like, "No, I put some dirt and a hole and a piece of metal over him." You're like, "Oh, thanks. That really helps out too." You know what Zordon kind of sounds like? He's in a drive-thru. At least my Zordon. In my world, that's what Zordon sounds like.
He does sound like a drive-thru. Yeah, he does.
But he also tells him that Ivan Ooze was trying to construct, I guess they're called ectomorphicon titans, and it's two. That doesn't really mean anything, I don't think, other than it's a scorpion and a wasp or a hornet or something like that. It's two big machines.
Yeah, they're giant robots.
Yeah, and it's weird because they say that he was almost done constructing them, but later on you'll see that they're literally just done. He just had, anyways. But so there's some bugs underground that this guy is gonna unearth and use to destroy apparently Angel Grove first and then the world. I don't know why you just don't go for the world. What is Angel Grove stopping you? This little town, this rinky-dink town is standing in your way from total global domination. What the hell is going on here?
So we just cut to nighttime now at the construction site where the egg is, and they have one guard. He looks like one policeman by himself sitting in a chair after they just discovered something that is obviously like ancient and completely mystifying. Like electrocuted one of the construction workers. They have like no security around it at night. And Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed, they show up. Rita Repulsa basically looks like this girl in a native outfit with two Madonna cones stacked on her head.
That's a very apt description.
Yeah. And Lord Zed is more or less a human with no flesh. And so he's basically completely exposed, like his insides are exposed. And he's seemingly held together by pieces of really shiny chrome metal. And he has like a, I don't even know how to describe his face.
This is a pretty gruesome character too, for just like a kid show. You're like, this is like a crazy looking dude.
So anyways, these four baddies have opened the egg. They've cracked the egg. And inside of it is a bunch of goo. And this goo basically transforms into Ivan Ooze. And he is this purple-looking fella with weird rivets on his head and his hands. And he has he's kind of dressed like a warlock, but it's all purple and glittery. And he's an old man. He reminds me of the grandfather from the Munsters.
Yes, that is it. He is
like, I would, if you would have told me that was actually him, I would have believed it.
Yeah, he's very much Grandpa Munster. I get that vibe off this guy 100%. But it's just a weird purple suit they stuck on him with like tentacles or something. I don't know what the heck that is supposed to be on his head. So
Ivan Ooze says that he'll help them destroy Zordon. And just as he finishes that sentence, he starts smelling. He goes, I smell teenagers. And then this giant rainbow comes shooting down from the sky. And the Power Rangers appear. So they start throwing some childish insults at him, like raising head and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I see Zordon still using kids to do his dirty work. Well, meet my kids. And then he summons these like goo monsters. They look like a bunch of, I don't know how to describe it. For some reason, this reminds me of Thriller. I don't know why, but if you just watch Thriller with like a purple hue or purple tinge over it, these guys all remind me of Thriller. They're apparently like grapey goo or something. This guy's all about goo. He's a very gooey themed person. Yes, everything has to be goo. Yeah, for like a guy whose last name is Ooze, he's not really oozy. He's actually, he's fairly dry, I guess. Yeah. So they're fighting these guys. It's a pretty lame fight all around. At no point in any of the fights in this movie do the Power Rangers remotely seem like they're vulnerable. It's like one-liner after one-liner after every time they hit somebody. And the one thing I do like better though than the TV show is that there's not sparks just flying out of the bad guys every single time they get hit. They are kind of left vulnerable for a second here because they get backed into a corner. And there's way too many of these gooey guys now. And then now they start to morph. They're like, now is the time we're going to morph. Before they were fighting these guys in just street clothes. And now they morph. And I thought to myself, why do you just start in your clothes first? Why are you instantly going into your suit? Because to me, in any point, if I was one of these guys, if I had any confrontation in my life, this is the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting the gear on, right? If I'm in McDonald's lineup and my chicken nuggets are taking too long, it's Morphin Time. I'm going in there and then you're going to hear dan, 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 dan. I'm like, give me my nuggets, damn it. Yeah. Be kicking people through windows. And I think it would probably be a lot easier to hide your identity if you show up in your costume. Yeah, that too. Well, apparently at this construction site where this giant egg is that's mysterious, no one's hanging out watching it, so it doesn't matter. So we get the whole transformation scene with a good probably 2 minutes of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song playing, which by the way is awesome. And we see them like flipping through the air, declaring, what they're representing dinosaur. And we go through all that. And then as soon as it's over, there's no bad guys around. They've all run and hid.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Like that's how you got to think that's how much time they took doing all this stuff, because they are jumping and flipping through the air and doing these like twists, and so like they're standing there literally talking to no one, going, "It's Morphin Time, Mastodon, Pterodactyl, T-Rex," and they're just yelling it. And meanwhile, they're like, "Should we just walk away? We'll just go over there in the corner, we'll hide." And they're like, yeah, totally. And they just like, these guys, the purple guys just kind of walk the other way, and they're still like going like, "Saber-tooth tiger!" And then they're coming down, flipping in the air, just doing these jumps off each other and all these stunts, hardcore parkour on the ground for 30 seconds, and no one's around. They're like, what a bunch of idiots.
It worked because Ivan Ooze shows up at Zordon's headquarters.
That's right. And it's probably... So the ooze that comes through the door is kind of like the Ghostbusters Part 2, the purpley stuff that was there. That's kind of what that looks like. But then when he gets through, it is the worst 1995 CGI graphics you have ever seen in your life. It is horrible. This horrible purpley thing disassembles himself, and Ivan Ooze is now inside the headquarters.
So I have a question for you, Paul.
Okay.
Ivan Ooze is about to destroy this place.
Yep.
Because he wants to kill Zordon. Ivan Ooze, he's all about the ooze. If you already know what weapon he's going to use to destroy the place, but if you didn't know, you'd probably guess what would you guess?
Probably something ooze related, I would assume, right?
Right.
Like,
you probably wouldn't guess a flute.
No. I would expect a bad guy from the Power Rangers to show up, not Jethro Tull. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he uses the flute and he starts using the flute, playing a little tune and zaps things, and there's sparks flying everywhere and tubes are falling over.
Hey, Aqualung! And then lightning shoots out.
Yeah. And it's funny because so after we see that flute, we never see it again.
That's a good point. You're right here. Maybe that's right. That's a really great point. He never uses this thing again.
Why even bother? If he could shoot, and if he can shoot like lightning out of his hands like the Emperor from Star Wars, what's he using the flute for anyways? He can make bad guys with his hands. He can summon monsters.
I don't know. None of this movie makes sense. Later on, he turns himself into a giant animal thing, a giant robot. So, I don't know. He just uses the magic flute. It's kind of like, there is like some serious Leprechaun vibes going on there. He's playing it and using the little flute to zap stuff, and it just looks really terrible. So, I don't know.
So he trashes that place with the flute, and then we go back to the construction place, and the Rangers are in their suits now, and they're walking around. They can't find these gooey monsters anywhere. And then the Yellow Ranger decides to activate the power beacon, and these two silly little eye holes appear on her head and light up. So she turns on the flashlight.
Yeah.
and then the Red Ranger decides to use his power scope, which is basically, it looks like heat sensing.
Yeah, it's like a heat vision thing. Yeah, and it's like, that seems kind of useless too for one part too, because all of a sudden the gooey guys come out again, and like, the California Raisins come out here to fight the Power Rangers, and this guy's still got this thing on. I think it would be hard to do close combat with heat vision on. The Power Rangers kick some ass here, and they beat up the purple guys, but as they do that, it looks like their powers have mysteriously just gone away now, and they don't know what is going on. So they're going to run away and try to figure out what the heck is going on. Meanwhile, back at HQ, Power Rangers, this doesn't really make any sense. I don't really know how they got to this place. It's not like they rollerbladed over to the headquarters, and this place seems like it's a faraway place. It's not a 20-minute jog.
Well, they get beamed there, didn't they?
No, they didn't get beamed because they lost their powers.
They were beamed from there into the
construction site the first time, but not the second time, because now they just they have to run back in there. They shows the place, and they're not shooting in there. They're just running up to this place.
Yeah, I don't know.
They come in, and there's old man Zordon, apparently lying in a bed of crystals or something with looks like he's got a Snuggie on.
Yeah, it's like a big body blanket. That's what I said. Like, he could even be, he looks, you know what he looks like now? He looks like he's a baked potato.
Yeah, kind of.
wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah, or he's like old Billy Corgan or something like that.
So Alpha 5 says that due to the damage, Zordon is no longer in the time warp. And I think that he must be meaning, that must be implying that the time warp is a safe place for Zordon to normally be. So now the Power Rangers don't have their powers. However, Alpha 5 and Zordon know of this planet nearby called Phaedos that happens to be identical to Earth. And there's a chance that they could get their powers if they want to venture there. And they're all like, well, Zordon needs the time warp back, so let's go and do the time warp again. And they all decide to beam off to Phaedos.
Real quick, before we head out there, I just want to say, so this guy Zordon lives inside of this tube for this entire time? This is how this works? I don't really, this is like so he can, what does he do? Does he just hang out in this thing all the time? And he just can't go anywhere and just projects himself up through this tub?
Well, he's an interdimensional being. That's what they said at the very beginning. So perhaps this is how we perceive him, but he might be very different in a physical form. I don't know.
Nothing happened to him. The guy just cracked his glass tube and now he's like dying somehow. It's not like he's got cuts on him or anything. He's not like he's beat up, vicious. You know what I mean? He's just this old stinky man in a crystal bathtub just hanging out for no reason. I don't know what is he doing? It's like the Men in Black scene where the guy's got the alien inside his head and you can kind of see him for a second. That's what Zordon reminds me of right now.
The Power Rangers have been transported to planet Phaedos, and Ivan Ooze has shown up at the headquarters of Lord Zed and Rita Repulsa, and he deems them not worthy of helping him, and decides to shrink them and put them in a snow globe. And as he's doing that, he sees the Power Rangers being transported to planet Phaedos. And he knows that there's like a hidden power there and that they're probably going to get it. And he sees them being transported there because it's like another giant rainbow just flying through space. So Ivan Ooze needs some henchmen now. And he decides to create some. This kind of badass music starts playing with like this bass and drums and guitar. And you're kind of wondering like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And up from the ground appears these humanoid crows. And that's like no joke. They're all just a bunch of screeching humanoid crows.
There's a couple parts in this that really have a Wizard of Oz kind of vibe in it. And this is one of those moments. They're not flying monkeys. They're just birds. They're just flying bird people, I guess. I don't really know what that's supposed to be. But that's right.
They look like it, though.
Yeah, they totally do. This movie, all of the elements in this movie, they ripped off other movies. They're just like, okay, we're going to have them do catchphrases like Ninja Turtles. They're going to have flying animal henchmen like in The Wizard of Oz. We're going to have these giant battle scenes with weird animals, sort of like in Star Wars or something like that. You know, so they're just like ripping off every other movie, left, right, and center. Meanwhile, the Power Rangers, they finally land on this planet here. And they're sort of walking around and they're checking everything out. And they notice that there's this giant animal that's dead. It's sort of the bones of this weird, creepy. When I saw this as a kid, I was like, this is so cool looking.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. This is like a crazy looking horse face thing with like goat horns.
A humanoid goat.
Yeah, it's crazy looking. This thing's intense. It's got a giant axe. And somehow this thing has been picked clean. It's dead on the shore there. So they know where they're going. This is going to be a really intense place, apparently. And as the camera sort of pans back, you see that someone is watching them, but we don't really know who it is. Meanwhile, there's a lot of jumping back and forth here in this movie. And there's so much stuff in this that's like, okay, we just need to just establish this, I guess. I don't know why all these little shots are going on, but you're jumping back and forth in this movie. And Ivan Ooze is back at some factory. I don't really know where this factory is or what this factory is supposed to do, what they make at this factory, but it's got a bunch of piping and machines around here, and there's big vents, and I don't know what all this stuff is. There's a lot of water here, apparently at this place. It used to be like just a water factory. That's what it looks like. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it looks like an irrigation factory or something.
Yeah, maybe. It kind of looks like that. It looks like I don't really know what this is. It's like a weird steampunk factory.
Yeah, so he's basically utilizing this factory because he has come up with this ingenious idea to get a bunch of workers assembled so that he can dig up his insect robots and rule the world.
Meanwhile, back on the planet Phaedos, it looks like the Power Rangers are finally going to come into contact with these Flappy Bird people.
They're just swooping in and flying around, and they're kind of like terrorizing them, but not really. Like the music is really menacing, but not a whole lot is actually happening to them at all. They just keep on flying. They seem to be like flying like 8 feet above them, and they're just dodging out of the way, and they're just screeching at them, but they're not attacking them.
This looks more like a Cirque du Soleil act than it does a terrorizing of these animals. Yeah, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense too, because what are they doing? And they're just swooping down and just flying around and doing nothing. And they look just like, it looks exactly what you would think it looks like. It looks like people in bad costumes on wires, just gliding over the Power Rangers' heads.
So I guess we're supposed to believe that the birds are getting the upper hand here. But this person that was watching a few moments ago, the Power Rangers walk around, this person reveals herself, and she is, oh gosh, how do I describe her? So she is like the female version of Tarzan, I guess.
That's not bad.
Yeah, she's a very, very skimpy clothing, far more sexualized than you would expect for a movie that's aimed at 10-year-olds. She has this staff, and she's like hitting the birds in the faces and tripping them and stuff. And then she splits it in half, and suddenly, like in one quick cut, she's holding a set of nightsticks painted brown, and she's like twirling them up and down, and her breasts are bouncing along with it for about a good 10 seconds. And this noise scares the birds away. So they fly back into space to go home.
Just to touch on what you were saying there earlier, she looks like she should be like a Mortal Kombat character. Like that's basically the amount of clothing she's wearing in this. It's like, it's crazy that this is a kid's movie, and this lady is basically wearing a thong bikini and like hooker boots.
You've seen the video for "I'm a Slave for You" by Britney Spears. That's who this is. Her name's Dulcia. I liked it when they first started talking to her. She was just like, "Whoever you are, get away. You'll die. Run away. You can't be here." And they're like, "Well, Zordon." I was like, "Wait, you know Zordon? Oh, come with me." Like, forget about all that death and stuff that I was just warning you about.
Oh, JK. That's just what I tell everybody. I didn't know you guys were in the club. That's cool. Okay, you know Zordon, right on.
So now she's gonna help them find the hidden power on Fedora, or whatever this planet is. Then we cut back to planet Earth, where Ivan Ooze is dressed as a wizard, and he is ready to sell his ooze to children.
Okay, yeah. So this whole thing is ridiculous. This guy is standing. He's at a carnival or a fair or something, and he's dressed like a wizard on a bong. That is what this man looks like right now. He's just this big purpley gray wizard dude with ooze, whatever goo this is. I don't know what this is. But why the heck is this guy dressed up like a wizard? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be fun for the kids, but he looks creepy. There's no way in hell I would want to go near this guy as a 12-year-old.
Okay, there's so many things that I just can't look past. And it's like, one, there's no connection to dressing up like a wizard and selling goo. What's like, it makes it, there's no connection there. So I don't understand that. And I don't know. There's just something really weird to me about putting your own face on a jar and selling your goo to anyone. It's not like it's and to kill and specifically targeting children. It's just so weird.
You are just say that. Let's say that aloud, folks. He is selling goo to children, dressed like a wizard. Basically, Ivan Ooze is telling all these kids, just take as much as you want, give it out to your parents, give it to your friends, and he's got a sinister plan here to sort of, I guess, hypnotize the parents somehow with this goo. This goo somehow hypnotizes the parents,
turns them into zombies.
Yeah, but do the parents have to touch the goo in order, or they just have to have it in the house near them?
They have to touch it. That's why he told the children to throw it in their faces if they don't want them playing with it.
But so it's like, you could just walk in and be like, "Oh, Jimmy's playing with this goo. Okay, yeah, just don't get on the couch, man. You're good." And they walk away, and this kid never. Do you know what I mean? Why would the kid be like, "Shut up, Dad," and throw goo in this guy's face for no reason?
It seems like it would make more sense to like just put his goo in the water supply or something.
Right? Yeah. Why is it goo, right? What is this ooze stuff that they need to hypnotize people with? This is a very convoluted plot point.
It's a very convoluted plan just to get a bunch of workers to dig up your robots, especially considering that he can just summon anything on like any kind of humanoid anything on his own. I don't know why why is he even bothering going through this whole plan?
I never thought about that before. That's very correct.
In the first half hour, we've seen him create enough humanoids already for him to get this work done.
That is very true. That doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. You're right. Okay. That's a great observation, Tim. And that is what we're doing here at Good Times and Bad Movies, giving you great observations, left, right, and center here.
Going back to Planet Phaedos now, and they're at this like plateau type area on like the top of a mountain, and it's nighttime. They're all standing around. Dulcia decides that it's time for them to discover their inner animal spirits that they're going to need to use in order to unlock the hidden power. She throws some dust in the fire and the fire gets big, and then this like sparkly tornado shoots out and everyone just morphs into ninja gear. They're all wearing like ninja shrouds now. The weird thing about this is that they don't even really have a power at this point. Like she just gave them a bunch of clothes. Like this whole ceremony was just for them to get some clothes and discover their animal. And they all get really cool animals except for the Black Power Ranger, whom is a frog. And the Power Rangers decide that they need to venture through the forest to go and get their new powers. Dulcia does not go with. And do you know why?
Because it's super dangerous?
I don't know. She doesn't give any reason. She just said she can't go. She just says that she can't help them and that if she leaves this plateau, then she will age faster, like age before their eyes, just like Zordon is now. So I'm immediately like, okay, well, you weren't even anywhere near the plateau when you just found the Power Rangers. Clearly she left. And then she turns into an owl, a snow owl, in the rainforest, and flies away, leaving the plateau. So nothing about her makes any sense. She just turns into a snow owl and flies away. What the hell does that even have to do with anything?
Man, I gotta say, Tim, your observations on this one, as far as a plot point, is like you're just batting 1,000. You're just picking them out of the air, just like boom, boom, boom. This makes no sense.
Some of them are obvious. You have to wonder about the owl and stuff. Like, what? Like 1 minute she's a super sexy model, and then she's a snow owl.
The Power Rangers are now in this mystic forest here, and they're just kind of poking around, and all of a sudden, these like dinosaur bones just come to life in a pretty cool fight scene here. This is in a movie where there's some really bad CGI and stuff going on. This is actually kind of cool.
This goes on until Tommy jumps on the back of the Triceratops or whatever kind of dinosaur it is. He declares that I've got a bone to pick with you, and he picks one bone out of its neck, and the whole thing collapses. It's moments like that where you can tell that they're like, they already wrote the movie, and they're like, okay, we've only got like an hour and 10 minutes here, guys. Like, can they fight like some kind of bony dinosaur or something on Planet Fedora?
Fedora? Planet Fedora, that's right.
Yeah.
That's great. All the hipsters live on Planet Fedora. It's the worst place to be in the world. That's right. It's a hive of scum and villainy at Fedora.
Again, this is back and forth and back and forth. So now we're back at the factory, the Ooze factory, and Ivan Ooze declares that the work is done. Enough of his robots have been dug up. Therefore, he has no use for these workers and tells them all in their trance, go leap to your death. So they all start chanting, leap to our death, or leap to our doom, I think. Leap to our doom. And they just file out and start walking. And then Ivan Ooze starts pumping these robots full of his goo.
Every time we keep going over this is just hilarious. It's amazing. That's right. You know what though? This confused me. He needs these people to dig up these machines, and so at the end of this, they were like, oh, he almost completed the machines. So all he had to do last time was like set up a goo factory and then just put goo in these robots. And then
Yeah.
that was it. But then it doesn't make any sense. So why did he have the goo? And he's still pumping all this goo. And you know what I mean? Like, because they're still jarring this goo up on the lines as well while they're at this factory. He's like, see you later. I don't need you anymore. He's like, they're putting it in jars and it's not just in this giant vat anymore. So why is he still making the goo and boxing it up? Is he like, you know what, this was actually kind of a hot sell, so I could put it into like Walgreens and Walmart and a couple other places. Best Buy said they'd take it.
Now we're going back to Fedora, and the Rangers have reached the temple, and I guess we're just to assume that this is where the power is. And there's a bunch of like sculptures of rock warriors that are like made of rocks, and Tommy touches one. And then it just it comes to life. And there's 4 of them that come to life. And we proceed to have another fight that's like identical to every other Power Rangers fight you've seen in this movie or on the TV show.
But they sort of dispatch those guys after a few minutes of running around the place. And all of a sudden the temple doors open.
Like that's it. Like the door opens up and these holographic golden animals fly out and zap them in the chest, and every one of them are wearing the exact same uniform that they started out with, only they have different pictures of animals on their chest.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And their helmets are still the same. Like it's still like a mastodon helmet and stuff, and like a saber-tooth helmet, and so it's weirdly convenient that they were wearing the medallions of the animals that just flew out of there, right? Because like, did the other things that came out there, were they wearing these like ninja costumes too? Is that a prerequisite to this whole thing? Like to survive this temple, you have to wear this weird like ninja outfit with the emblem of this animal on it. If you don't, you die.
I have no idea.
Right? That doesn't make sense.
We get nothing. That's the most, as far as explanations, that so far is the best we're gonna get.
That's right. So they boot off a planet Fandangle and they're headed back to Earth. Meanwhile, this Hornet and Scorpion thing, this is not pretty CGI for the time. I know they were really thinking like this is gonna look cool in 1995, but this does not look that great now.
It looks cool in the sense that it's done in daylight. You don't see too many like giant monsters or in any kind of movies that it's like in broad daylight. I think that's probably why they did that too, is because I think like that style of CGI, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it in the dark. But in any case, it really doesn't look good.
I would have appreciated the guy in the suit stomping on the small little obvious fake city. That would have been a lot better, I think, to me. That's a classic throwback to the Power Rangers, but it's not my movie, so that's okay. But you're right. And these giant mechanical, horrible CGI robot things are just kind of wreaking havoc on Angel Grove here. Ivan Ooze and Goldar are sitting on top of, I don't know what this is, some sort of tower. And it looks like the Space Needle or something in Seattle, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Seattle.
But this is in Australia, so I don't really know what that is in Australia. Someone out there in Australia, you tell me what that is. I don't really know. I could probably Google it. Maybe I should. I don't know.
No, don't bother.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, the Rangers land. Somehow, I guess a bunch of hours have passed. That's just like, how long does it take to get from Phaedos to this planet, right?
That rainbow looks like it's going pretty fast.
The Rangers land in their dinosaur costumes and start morphing into the animals that are totally not their costumes.
Yeah. Oh, and this kind of annoyed me. It's like, how many times, I bet you there's probably like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie is just the Power Rangers declaring who they are and morphing and then doing flips in the air while they're morphing. This is at least the 4th time I think it happens, and it's going to happen again too.
I mean, if you're a kid though, this is the bread and butter of the Power Rangers. You want to see them do this stuff because, I mean, especially for them at this point, this is like, we're just selling toys. We are selling toys hard to kids. And I'm just like, as a kid, I'm like, mainline this. I want every one of these Zords now.
Over in the other area of town, this really crappy song starts playing where it's like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Something, something, something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Fred is like, little young Fred here. He's rallying up all the teenagers because they're all just partying because the parents are gone and they got all this goo to play with. So they're just like having a great time on Ivan's Ooze. And so, but he's like, yo, our parents are about to go kill themselves. You got to do something. And Bulk and Skull are like, Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. So then they all hop on the monorail and they go to see the parents.
So we can't gloss over this real quick here, right? Again, at the start of the movie, we see Bulk and Skull. Somehow, I guess they got out of the plane. We don't see them again until now in this movie. Okay. All of the parents in this town are just out. God knows where they are. Right. And these two high school bully guys, these guys, Bulk and Skull, are now hanging out with like a bunch of like 12 and 13-year-olds. Like, this is like why are they hanging out with these kids in this arcade for like no reason? This doesn't make any sense. What the hell is going on here?
I don't know. It's very peculiar. I wonder where are the families of the Power Rangers?
I don't know. Yeah, they're like, that's a good point too. Where are the Power Rangers families in this? Where, because you don't see them in this movie either at all, right? Maybe Zordon is Bruce Wayne. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe that's why he's got the technology to do all this stuff, right? Because he's got limited funds here. And that's why he's got a penchant for teenagers and putting them in harm's way.
So the Power Rangers, using their Zords, have managed to get the better of these insect monsters, and the Scorpion is destroyed. And now they've got the giant ant, I guess that's what he is. He's like cornered on a dead-end street. And Ivan Ooze decides that he's had enough, and he just kind of like throws his body into the remaining robot. Like his whole body just stretches out into this giant long string of ooze, and he puts himself into the ant, and the ant basically just becomes bigger, and he becomes giant Ivan Ooze, because that's pretty much textbook for how every single Power Rangers episode goes. They fight them when they're small, and then they get big.
That's right.
And then the Rangers decide that it's Morphin Time again. For the 5th time in this movie, they decide to bring themselves together and make Megazord.
Yeah, this is so when I was a kid, I thought this was such a cool Megazord. I was like, this is way better than the original Megazord. And just like going back to it now, I'm like, this thing looks so stupid.
Yeah, he doesn't look cool, especially his head. His head looks really dumb.
Yeah, it's really wide and flat, and it's dumb, and it's like giant sword. And also too, when they get into these swords, they always all do this synchronized thing where they swing their arms around in like ninja magic hands, and then they hit buttons. Why are they doing these synchronized moves? That seems like you're wasting time. Like, is that required to do all this stuff? Like, okay, everyone wave your hands this way.
Whenever they're in costume, they constantly look like they're using sign language to speak. Like constantly, whenever there's any syllable, like a hand, there's a karate chop for every syllable that you speak.
That's true. Yeah, they're doing like hands up and down. It's almost like they're voguing when they talk. You know, they are constantly striking a pose, and they're just moving their arms and heads around and stuff. It's like dance. It's like dance talking. It's kind of what the Power Rangers are doing when they do this stuff. And I was always confused about this too, because looks like they're all supposed to be driving the Zord here. But how does it work? Does like one guy get a leg and one guy gets the other leg, and then someone gets a right arm and someone gets a left arm? Because this seems like a lot of coordination. It seems like you'd have to work this out really hard. I know they kind of explore that in the new Power Rangers movie, but like at least they recognize that doesn't make sense. Since Ivan Ooze turned into a giant version of himself inside that Hornet thing, he stepped on the monorail, which broke the track. And meanwhile, the kids and Bulk and Skull, these two idiots, run around with a bunch of like kids from Chuck E. Cheese, get on the monorail, and they're on this thing, and it looks like they're on a collision course to just fall off the tracks here. And this is no bueno, as we say in the biz here. So looks like Tommy out of nowhere swoops in on his little Falcon and somehow manages to like hover perfectly, even though this is like a jet that he's just in. It's not a helicopter. He hovers on the track perfectly, and the monorail skids over it, and he saved the day. And meanwhile, the Rangers and their Megazord are fighting Ivan Ooze, and he basically tosses them into a building, at which point they're like, Tommy, we need you. Only you and your surfboard skills can help us out here. So he flies on his little Falcon over, and they become the whatever. It's like now it's like the Falcon Mega Ninja Zord thing.
He's the ninja flying Megazord.
Something like that. There's a big, long, stupid name for this one too. That's right. And now they take off into space. If this movie couldn't get any weirder, we're just going to go to space now at the end of this movie.
All the kids on that monorail would have totally died.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. It's like even just that thing has no tracks on it. They would have just sheared off that thing and it would have been over.
But yeah, you're right. Now we're in space.
It doesn't make any sense. But I always thought when I played the video game for I think it was like Genesis and like Super Nintendo, when you went to space, this was my favorite part of this game because I would stay up late at night and watch this movie and play this game nonstop. And I always loved this part of the video game when you got to space to beat or fight Ivan Ooze. It was so cool. I get so hyped up.
I don't think I ever had it. Like I had one Power Rangers video game, but it was like really disappointing. It ended up being just like a Mortal Kombat knockoff. Like it was fighter on fighter.
The newer ones are like that, and they look like they kind of suck. But this one was wicked. The first one was awesome. The Power Rangers movie video game was tight.
While they were fighting in space, they decided to line him up with the trajectory of Ryan's comet. So they were in his grasp. They were saying that like pressure was breaking and stuff like that. And the Yellow Ranger decided to hit the emergency button, and it says last resort, and she smashes it out, and that enabled Megazord to knee Ivan Ooze directly in the crotch. And that was the Power Rangers' big move, using Megazord. They just got their ninja powers. Okay. And they have these new awesome ninjetti powers from planet Phaedos. They just bashed Ivan Ooze in the balls. And he flew away and connected with the comet. It blew up. And everyone's good.
That's a great point there, actually. That's right. I mean, I guess even the Ninjetti knew that if you kick someone in the crotch, they can't come back from that. It's like in Three Ninjas when Grandpa, he showed them all those points they hit. And he's like, if you hit somebody here, they're not going to want to continue the fight. It's sort of like that. So maybe Mori Tanaka, he programmed this thing once upon a time here. And they just the emergency lever to knee someone in the groin. That's a great shot. That's a great move, right? You have space powers. You have giant Zords, and your Zord is just gonna knee this dude right in the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, take him to Dick Kick City.
This is a goofy way to end this movie.
Well, and being worried, like you said, controversy earlier of like parents were afraid that kids were going to copy the moves of the Power Rangers, so they were like trying to make it safe. Like I'm surprised that they would just haul that one out of there.
At this point, the parents have snapped out of it. Ivan Ooze is destroyed, and the day has been saved. Looks like the Power Rangers have now beamed back to their headquarters. And it looks like old man Billy Corgan is still passed out in his onesie. And unfortunately, he's gone. Zordon has passed on to the other side. The Rangers all kind of stand around a huddle, and I don't know what they do. They cry a little bit or something here, and somehow magically there's just like these little lights that just show up. And maybe it's their good thoughts, their happy thoughts, their love for Zordon, something like that. I guess we'll pitch it as something magical happens here. And this energy comes together and somehow restores the entire headquarters and brings back Zordon.
It comes back together almost as if it comes back together in a way that I don't know. I didn't actually do it, but I bet if you went back and you watched a couple of clips of Ivan Ooze destroying the place at the beginning, they just rewound the footage. They just played it in reverse because that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, you might be right. You're probably right there. They really, I mean, this movie had a somewhat of a big budget, I think, but they definitely cheaped out in some areas too. That might have been one of them.
So then we go back to Earth again, I guess, and there's a giant celebration, fireworks, and a big thank you Power Rangers from the city, I guess. And now the movie ends with an awesome song by Van Halen, Dreams. It's an awesome song.
Yeah, I wonder, that's probably where their budget went for this movie. It's just like some of the soundtrack. They got Red Hot Chili Peppers, Van Halen. There's a couple people in this. You're like, whoa.
I would say that and the CGI. I mean, granted, it's not good CGI, but for 1995, having that much CGI in a film, I'm pretty sure that's probably where the majority of their budget went. This movie cost $100 million.
Yeah. I mean, in 1995, that's big money you're rolling with at that point, right? At that point, that's like, this is unheard of almost. So I mean, like, it's ambitious. It was ambitious for its time, I guess. So that was cool. But I mean, that is Power Rangers. So it's over now. At least we can discuss it a little more. So what were your thoughts on this movie, Tim?
It's pretty cheesy. And I can still see why I enjoyed it when I was young, But it's really not much different than like the TV show at all. It's the exact same formula with like a couple extra things thrown in. Now, some of the suits look like a lot of the upgrades from the TV show into the movie look really cool. Like their suits look way better. Maybe that's it. I guess that could be it, but like their suits look way better.
I guess so. I think the standard comparison is it's sort of like an hour and a half long episode of Power Rangers. Like it's just like a bigger budget version of the TV show, which I think is probably, I think that's fairly accurate. And like they definitely tried really hard to give you something visually appealing at that point in time. And it was like, especially for kids, to me, this was like, like insane. You watch this movie.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. Your eyes are bugging out of your head. You're just like so much overload as a kid, so much cool stuff going on in this movie. But I really think this, again, was a better outing than the recent one that came out. Just because this is obviously more true to what the TV show was. And the other one is more of the superhero version of it, which I appreciate the idea. I just don't think it was properly executed. This is just, even though it's goofy looking and there's tons of flaws with the strings and people flying over and it's so obvious what the hell is going on here. And there's some god awful fight scenes now that you look at it. It's still very ambitious and this is a fun watch. You could watch this like anytime. Like you just pick this up. This is a nice, fun, mindless watch.
I don't think this movie is going to like earn any new Power Ranger fans. It's not going to make any new ones if anyone wants to like go back and watch it now. But yeah, like you said, when I was young, this is a big deal. I enjoyed watching it. And this really wasn't a painful thing to watch now. Maybe a tad boring.
There's a lot of cut back to this place, cut over this place, cut over this place. Like movies that do that a lot. It's I mean, as an adult, as not being like a little kid, I mean, I would say I'm still probably a little ADD. I'm not a doctor though. I don't know. But I think like even for me, this is a little too much. It's like we're cut to here, cut to back there, cut to there, cut to back. And I know it's just we're cutting back from Earth to this place, the other place. But at least there's got to be a better way to deliver some of these scenes in a row without having to cut back and forth all the time. And then it is like the more you critically analyzing this movie, probably at least if you're trying to look back on it with rose-colored glasses, this isn't the greatest because the bad accents, the wire stunt stuff that's super obvious, the bad CGI, all that stuff sucked. But man, those costumes are so cool. I really like the Power Ranger suits in this.
Those costumes are great. I would be happy to have one now.
But overall, I think this movie's a blast. And nostalgia-wise, I think this is a fun one. At least you go back and relive your childhood for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's it for this episode here. But before we go, just we want to say again, check us out on Instagram. It's at Good Times Bad Movies Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. And please give us a review, something like that. That always helps with engagement. We appreciate that. And we also have a YouTube channel. And Tim and I are slowly working on putting out videos with actual video. But for now, it's just a podcast out. So check it out and let us know what you think. And I guess we'll just leave you with some magical words from Ivan Ooze.
Let's get sticky!